what do you have to say for people who don't fit in your definition of man or woman? I'm a biologist. I understand the biology. Are you saying that a woman is only a person who has two X chromosomes and a man who is someone who only has an X and a Y chromosome?
I think that's the scientific definition, yes.
It's actually not, because there can be people with XXY. There can be Y chromosome inactivation. The way that this biology works is that you have genes. Those genes make proteins. Those proteins develop the traits that you define as men and women. They develop the features that you define as male. They develop the genitalia. But you can be a woman with female genitalia and be XY. You can be a man, but you can have XX chromosomes.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, Grace. You're talking about a very rare condition known as intersexed. Right?
All right, so real quick, before we get too far into this video, we're going to see this biologist debate gender theory with Christian apologist Frank Turek, or Turek, I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name. But we're going to listen into their conversation, we're going to see what everyone has to say, and I will also be giving you my thoughts as the video goes on. Let's go.
Right. 1 in 100 people experience chromosomal differences in sex.
Okay, but not 1 in 100 have different genitalia or ambiguous genitalia.
And what do you say to those people?
Well, what you say is that's a situation that is not the norm. We're not saying that they're not people, obviously. As I understand it, maybe you know more about it than me, when you do have a truly intersexed person, at that point, either the parents or when they're old enough, they can decide which way they're going to orient themselves, and they can get the appropriate surgery. But that's not what we're experiencing in our culture.
That it's okay for people to decide their gender.
In that situation, but that's not what we're talking about in our culture. What we're talking about in our culture are people with perfectly normal functioning sexual organs trying to have them removed and trying to transition to another gender, which is impossible scientifically.
Okay, there seems to be a sort of ambiguity coming from both sides about the way that intersex works, or at least how intersex works a majority of the time. Now, I have a video that talks about this a little bit more at length, and I'll have that linked up above somewhere. And so if you want to check that out, you can click that link. But anyways, before I say this, because I'm going to make a sort of generalized statement, there's always outliers with everything. As with everything, there is going to be some things that are not the case. And especially with things like intersex, it's very complicated. But with that being said, studies have shown that up to or even more than 50% of all intersex cases, the person has a predominant sex organ. For example, in the case of this Quora user, externally you may confuse them or mistake them for being male, but internally their sex organs are predominantly female. So even though externally they have male genitalia, they are not capable of getting someone pregnant, but they themselves have female sex organs. They are capable of being pregnant. So in this case, again, the female organs are predominant. So again, when I say this, I understand this is a blatant generalization, okay? I understand that. But it is the case for at least even more than half of all the intersex population that they can't just choose. Like, it's not like you're making the decision whether to eat Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles in the morning. Like, oh, it doesn't matter, just pick one and it'll just work out. No, that's not usually the case. There are many biological and scientific reasons why some people get treated to support the more male side of things, and the same thing can be said for the more female side of things. I just wanted to point out the sort of misunderstanding. Like, a lot of people believe that, you know, if someone is intersex, they can kind of just pick, oh, I'm just going to be a girl or I'm going to be a boy and it's going to work out either way. Well, preponderantly, in most cases, that's not the case. But anyways, I just wanted to clear that up if anyone was sort of confused, because it sounds to me like they're saying, oh, well, you could just kind of pick and whatever it is, that's how it works out. It's a lot more complicated than that, but anyways, let's continue.
Have you ever doubted that you're a man?
Mm-hmm.
You've doubted that you...
Oh, have I ever doubted I'm a man? No, I have never doubted I'm a man.
Then what do you say to a transgender person who has never doubted their gender? You're saying that we all change and that obviously transgenderism is a product of some kind of phase, but you've never doubted that you're a man. So
no,
where's your development of this change?
Grace, I'm not denying there are people truly with gender dysphoria. I've already said that. What I'm saying is the way out of that problem is not surgery according to the data. Okay. Psychiatry is the way out of that problem.
I also don't agree with your statement that after surgery, you implied that transgender people are more likely to commit suicide after surgery. But the statistics say that transgender people are more likely to commit suicide because of arguments that you make that they're invalid.
No, I'm not saying they're invalid.
I'm just saying that you implied that it's the surgery that's causing suicide.
No, it's
rates.
not. What I'm saying is the surgery doesn't fix anything. That's the point. It's practically the same rate, whether they have the surgery or not.
If you woke up and grew breasts today, would you like them to be removed? There are men.
Say that again?
Have you ever heard of gynecomastia?
I had it.
And so did you have that fixed?
Yes, I did.
And did that make you feel affirmed in your gender and comfortable in your body?
No, when I was in the Navy, nobody knows this, by the way. Jesus, now I'm revealing I need a HIPAA form to sign here or something.
You don't have to talk about it.
No, what I'm saying is, yes, I've had that myself and had it surgically removed when I was in the Navy. Yeah.
And do you feel more comfortable in your body and more affirmed in your gender because of that?
Well, it wasn't a gender thing for me. It was the fact, well, I can't even get into it now because it had nothing to do with my gender. Okay. So it had to do with the fact that it looked really odd. Let me just put it that way.
All right. Okay. So I sort of understand her argument here. It kind of makes sense. Let's just say if someone is uncomfortable with their own body, it makes sense that they would want to do something to make their body more comfortable to be in, right? And sometimes people have physical insecurities, which is kind of what we're talking about, where, you know, there are things that they can change. For example, if someone is skinny or they speak with a speech impediment, things like that. But sometimes these physical insecurities are things that we cannot change naturally, like our height, or in this case, gynecomastia. But sometimes these physical insecurities are a little bit more than insecurities. They're more anxieties, like gender dysphoria. This woman seems to be implying that a man getting his genitalia surgically removed to make himself feel more comfortable in his own body is equivalent to Frank getting a little bit of excess breast tissue surgically removed to make himself more comfortable in his own body. But I don't think that is very equivalent at all. There's a big difference between an insecurity caused by something that is abnormal, like gynecomastia, and a man having a mental health condition, which, by the way, people don't like it being called that, but this is not me saying this. If you look in the DSM-5, which is the manual for mental disorders, that's what it's classified as, a mental health condition. So a man having a mental health condition that makes him feel like he was supposed to be born a girl is not the same thing as a guy having a little bit of excess breast tissue. I don't really think that's the same at all, and I guarantee that almost every single biologist or psychiatrist will also agree with me. But anyways, we've only got a few minutes left of this video, and I only have a few more things to say, so let's see where this conversation goes.
Okay. But Grace, my point is if we truly care about people, are we going to try and force them down a road, particularly as children, into a solution to a problem which is proven not to be a solution?
You just said that having that surgery made you feel better about yourself.
That has nothing to do with transgender surgery. I wasn't changing my sex. I was having breast tissue removed. Okay? I was always a man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So...
And say that I have XY chromosomes, but I'm born with female genitalia and female body types, but I believe I'm a man. Should I not be allowed to have that breast tissue removed?
As an adult, you can do whatever you want.
Yes, that's fine.
My problem is with the children. That's where I'm having a real problem.
Is there a magic button at 18 that instantly makes you feel like you know who you are and absolutely what your gender is? I think for women it's probably like 15. For men it's 37. But no, we've just chosen 18 kind of as the adulthood crossing point, although for some issues it's 21, like drinking, okay? So, no, maybe it's later than 18, okay? My big problem, and I would say this to somebody who's 37, that the surgery does not appear to help anyone,
And if you want more data on this, you can go to sexchangeregret.com. Sexchangeregret.com. But I wouldn't even be talking about this issue unless I thought the current way the culture's going is hurting people. And it is.
Absolutely, 100% I agree here. Let me ask you a question. If you genuinely love someone, you genuinely care about them, well, actually, here, let's just make an example. Let's say you have a friend, and your friend is an alcoholic, for example. If you want to help your friend with their alcohol problem, does that mean that you just allow them to continue drinking because that makes them feel good? Well, of course not. You don't allow them to keep drinking because it's not going to help their problem, it's just going to feed into their problem. Now, let's say you have someone who is experiencing gender dysphoria. You do not help this person by feeding into their problem. That's just going to make it worse. Like, I know this for sure. The solution to depression is not leaving someone to sit alone in their room just feeling sadness and emptiness. The solution to anorexia is not just allowing them to not eat for days on end and consume appetite suppressant pills. The solution to gender dysphoria is not taking someone to the clinic to get their genitals removed and a freaking breast augmentation. It's just not. The actual solution in all of these cases is psychiatry. Speaking to someone about your condition and actually taking actionable steps to get better in that condition and not just, give into it. A few years back, maybe 8-9 years ago, there was a woman who was suffering from body identity integrity disorder, which basically, she was a perfectly able-bodied woman with perfect eyesight, yet she believed that she was supposed to be born blind. So she went to a psychiatrist to try to help her with her condition, and after a few weeks, the psychiatrist decided that it would be a good idea to pour drain cleaner into her eyes to help her become blind. And it worked. To me, that's medical malpractice, and I'm pretty sure everyone would call it medical malpractice. A perfectly normal woman getting her body permanently ruined with the aid of a psychiatrist because of a mental health condition. That's medical malpractice. Now, I think that you can kind of put the pieces together here. God made humans to be male and female, to have our biology, to have our psychology. And when someone is going against their biology or going against their psychology, these things are out of the ordinary, right? And as actual loving, caring members of society, it is wrong for us to just allow this person to get consumed by their mental health condition. But of course, thankfully for people who are struggling with literally anything, Jesus is always there to help. And of course, us Christians, we can do the will of the Father and do the will of Christ and help these people as well as best as we are able to. And I hope that, through videos like Frank's and videos like mine, that it helps to just show the truth of these issues instead of, calling them issues instead of trying to call them normal, which is all what people in society are trying to do now. And to me, that's wrong to do. Once again, you don't help someone escape depression by leaving them alone to be sad and empty. You don't help someone escape anorexia by allowing them to not eat. You do not help someone with gender dysphoria by cutting off their genitals. It's completely antithetical and backwards. It's like you're feeding into their problem instead of actually helping their problem. You see what I mean? But with that being said, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please, I've given you all of my thoughts. Tell me yours in the comments down below. And also, if you really did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing so that way you do not miss a single future upload from me. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed again, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Peace.